Hi YouTube, I'm in my pajamas. So, I'm Silverflowy. I only have 8 subscribers. So, I just got my braces. I have a cat, a puppy that just turned 1 a few months ago. So, she's technically a dog now. But, what's that matter? So, I've already told you I only have 8 subscribers. I'm aiming for more, so I posted a video. Please subscribe. It's somewhere up here. Somewhere up here. Somewhere up here. It's somewhere up here. Please leave a comment. Giving you time to leave a comment. 3, 2, 1. Alright. I have to leave a comment after this video. So, my name is Silverflowy, and I think that kittens are the cutest things on earth, second to toddlers, because they are so cute most of the time. So, if you have an idea for my next video, leave them in the comments or on my channel, and I'll leave a comment if you wanted to reply something to me to make sure I see it. And my next video will be much better. Maybe I'll bring in one of my pets. So, bye YouTube. See you later. Have fun, YouTube!